Hello, this is Victor. I'm here with a new wargaming concept, and this time I want to talk about the Bloob unit or the tarpening unit. So what is this about? And here you have an example on the screen. So a tarpening unit or Bloob unit is a unit that is composed by cheap miniatures that cost very little points, and they are not very good. But you put so many that the enemy cannot pass through them. So you use these very cheap miniatures in a big numbers, and then you boost them in a way that they don't run away. Can be by adding a character, by special rules or something like that. And the objective is, as the word says, tarpening. So the objective is just to block the enemy and to block some of the enemy elite units in the way that they cannot move and they cannot damage your important assets in the army. So it's a unit that the main objective is to die and burn out enemy turns and force the enemy that not allow the enemy to move. So this is used to block elites, but also can be used to block the enemy in the deployment zone, or to protect your most important assets with a big unit that is it's not allowing the elite or strong enemy unit to move, and then you take the time with your elites to do damage where you want, while they are just gaining you some time, some turns in the battle game. And normally, as we play fantasy, or we are going to tell now 9th Age, or when we play Warhammer 40k, we are talking about limit number of turns, normally 5, 6, 7, depending on the game. But we don't have each turn that this unit is blocking this elite from the enemy is a turn that you are winning, and you can do damage without taking care of this elite unit. Here I have an example, typical example: big unit of Imperial Guard with a commissar. Sorry, inside, or with a priest, a minister and priest. You drop them on an enemy elite, and they will hold this elite for a while time. I have seen a unit of guardians hold in place Imperial Knight, these small titans, for 2-3 turns. So during this time, the rest of the army of the Imperial Guard can do other work, and take into account that we are talking normally when we put, if you put 3 of these units, it's about 150 points. We will talk about 150 plus the commissar, we can go to 200 points. But this is cheap if you can hold unit of Terminators, or if you can hold Imperial Knight. Another example, I used one unit of 20 Guardians with a Minister and Priest, 25 points for the Minister and Priest, 100 something, so less than 200 points. I pin a unit of Assault Terminators and a Dreadnought for 3 turns. So really a good investment on points. Yeah, they can kill 2, 3, 4 of your Imperial Guard, you don't care. And then in return you do a lot of attacks, and then if you are lucky, you kill one of the Terminators in return. And because you have the Minister and Priest, you are fearless, you don't run away, you pin this elite unit on place, and the rest of the army, your heavy weapons, your tanks, your sentinels, anything that you have, the rest can dedicate to shoot other assets and to do damage to other units without worrying too much about these elites. We have other examples and other armies that can do that, but remember, the main point is to have cheap units. You have to use cheap units to do that. Normally it's composed by cheap miniatures, and you put a good number, and then you find a way to pin them in position. Let's find cultists, another good example from the chaos. You can drop a swarm of cultists, and even better, the zombies that Typhus can put. This is why Typhus was so popular. These guys are extremely cheap as well. You put them, you give them fearless by any different ways. You can put inside a character, you can put inside, there are different ways that you can use them fearless, and then you're pinning the enemy in position. You don't allow them to move. But here we have another one that is very typical. Escapades play a lot with that, with the big blocks of units that are blocking you, are rejecting you, but especially the big blocks of slaves. There are so many, and with the leadership rules of the 8th, where you can use the ranks and then put a character, then rise to leadership 10, and the steadfast, you pin any enemy unit in position, and they need to kill a lot to move. But we can also see sometimes zombies in the vampire cones. So these are units that, if you look the profile, they don't look very scary, but when they come to you in big numbers, a big block of 50, 60 scavens, a big block of 20, 30 guardians with a priest inside. Remember, priest is only 25 points if I'm not wrong. These don't look scary at the beginning, but with all the number of attacks they can do, and the guardians, for example, all the shooting they can do more damage than what it looks like. They are cheap. Of course, they cannot deal with vehicles. They cannot do damage. The case I was playing about the Imperial Knight, they cannot damage Imperial Knight, but it's not the objective for them to damage. The main objective is to pin the unit in position. This is why the targeting unit or the Bloob unit is the main objective, is to pin the enemy in position. Then the rest of the army can do what you want, and you don't worry about this unit that is pinned in position for 2 or 3 turns normally. Of course, they will end up dying, they will and losing, so it's an effect, is some assets that you will lose at the end of the battle. But this is not a problem, because you try to invest less points than what is the cost of the unit that you are tapping. And remember, normally, especially in 40k, where you are more interested on the objective and on making point by holding objective, blocking enemy units is a key way, is one of the ways to move, to have freedom for some of your elite units and hold objective instead of the enemy. And yeah, in fantasy, if you can hold in place a Death Star, or you can hold in place one of these big monsters that you don't know how to deal with, a lot of garbage. Remember, 2 points or 2.5 points for a slave. You put 50, 100 points, and then you pin in position anything that you want for a while, because they need to kill a lot to be able to overcome the slaves, and you are not losing too much. So the same can happen with zombies and some other units that we see in big blocks, and this is the main objective, is just to pin enemy units. So when you see the concept Bloob and tapping unit is the what we're talking about. What is the counter for this type of units? For example, in Warhammer 40k, big counters to this, and what you have to be careful if you're using this type of units. Flamers, things that have template, if they can do massive amount. This is you have to be very careful, because they can disseminate your Bloob unit. If your Bloob unit is below the effective number, is going to be useless. If your Bloob unit of Guardians is reduced to 10, it's not a Bloob unit anymore. It's just 10 Guardians, and they can be killed very easily. If Flamers and shooting anti-infantry can really do a lot of damage, so you have to protect your assets. Sometimes they give you use cover, but yeah, I will say the main counter to the Bloob units in 40k normally are Flamers and template weapons. In Warhammer Fantasy, there are some powers, some magical powers that can do damage to units that are garbage, like Dwellers Below, that damage that you have to do a strength test, and they can do massive damage. And also templates, if you have a breath weapon or or a template like how it's called, this, a catapult, a trebuchet. Yeah, this can do more damage, and then you have to reduce the effectiveness of this block of that turning unit below the numbers in a way that you can manage them very much easily. So this is the watch outs when you have this type of units, or the way to deal with them if you have in front them. Use Flamers in 40k, the main option, or in Warhammer Fantasy, breath weapons, magical powers that can do massive damage to miniatures with low resistance or low strength, or template weapons as well. Or launch another blob unit and they will hold, so try to block the blob unit with something that is cheaper in your case. So yeah, these are always the points. If you put something that is even cheaper than the blob unit, you at the end you are blocking the enemy unit. And I think this is all the concept. So let me know what is your favorite, and if you have used the blob unit or dampening unit in any game, and how you use that, and how you protect your dampening unit, and how you make them to be efficient. And if you deal with them, what is the way that you deal with them? That's all for now. This is another wargaming concept. If there is any other concept that you want to know about, please let me know. Put the concept in the description below. As usual, thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.